frankly, multiculturalism was always regarded by a fair proportion of the indigenous white population with a degree of mistrust and even resentment.
But it took September the 11th, 2001 to make the politicians sit up and take notice. And you only have to travel 200 miles across the North Sea to discover just how much of a conflict there can be between liberalism and Islam. The Dutch people are an amenable sort. They've been welcoming immigrants for hundreds of years. There are 173 different nationalities living side by side in the streets of Amsterdam. They all enjoy the freedoms that liberal Holland knows best how to provide.
Pretty much all desirable sins and indulgences of the flesh are rather agreeably available within about a 500-yard radius of this lovely coffee shop. This is, after all, Europe's most achingly liberal and licentious city. But just recently the Dutch people have begun to feel a little let down by their liberal leaders. The political elite has been altogether too tolerant of the very, very intolerant.
Last November, the uneasy détente between Dutch Islam and Dutch hedonism broke down. A Muslim school was damaged by a bomb. Several mosques and churches were set on fire. Gunshots were fired. The very civilized Dutch was suddenly very uneasy.
Ja, ik liep de deur uit en er lagen dus gewoon scherpschutters voor mijn deur. Dus ja, het was zeer beangstigend allemaal vanmorgen.
This explosion of hatred followed the murder of Theo van Gogh, one of the Netherlands' most famous journalists and filmmakers. His attacker was a radical Muslim.
Hé, wat gezellig, het is wel heerlijk weer.
Van Gogh's best friend took me to the scene of the crime. He is also a well-known writer and broadcaster in Holland.
He was enormously hit by eight bullets. Eight bullets, and at that moment he fell down with his hands up. And then he was still alive. Theo said, "Have mercy, have mercy." Well, but the man didn't have any mercy at all. The man was extremely relaxed, put a dagger out of it, and then cut it right into the heart of Theo. And at that point, another little more knife came out of the back. And in 3 times, it just went over his throat. I've seen it when I was at the morgue.
So what had Van Gogh done to warrant this vicious execution? He'd made a movie claiming to show that the Quran justifies violence against women. It showed verses from the Quran imprinted on the semi-naked body of a woman. Muslims said this was an offensive use of their sacred text. Van Gogh's killing enraged white liberal Holland.
You can compare it with a heart attack. It was a heart attack for the Netherlands. He was the embodiment, you could say, for the freedom of speech. So when he was killed, everybody felt that it was over with the freedom of speech. The thing in politics here at this moment is that they don't know how to react. They say, don't say anything be very friendly to the Islamic people, be very friendly to them. Okay, but I want to be critical to their faith. I won't do it in a very confronting way, but I have to say some things about Allah and their belief which they don't like. I'm very sorry. I criticize all the beliefs. I criticize Catholics, I criticize Protestants, I criticize Jews. And now I have to do it with the Muslim community. I have to criticize their belief. And at that moment, when you do that, you are literally in danger here, now, at this moment.
The problem for Holland is that the traditional Dutch views on freedom of speech are rather different from the views held by its Muslim community. While many Muslim citizens say they support free speech, that tolerance appears to evaporate when it impinges upon their religion. I wanted to find out what Dutch Muslims thought about Van Gogh's brutal slaying.
What did you think when Van Gogh was killed?
Well, Holland is not in shock. You know, Holland is like this melodramatic country with the people who like to exaggerate things and create a drama, and they don't know themselves how dangerous that is.
But that was a brutal murder, wasn't it?
That was indeed a very brutal murder done by somebody who felt like insulted by Theo van Gogh. So what he did indeed was wrong, and it was an extreme act he did. Theo van Gogh was an extremist too. The movie he made was extreme.
He didn't kill anyone, though.
No, but look, it was an extreme thing. So extremism calls upon extremism. That's what happened.
So I don't quite understand that. Are you saying that the extremism of Theo van Gogh led to, or it was in some way deserving of the extremism?
Not deserving, absolutely not.
Well, how can you make an equivalence between them?
Yes, but making a movie which is very insulting with naked women with holy texts on their bodies, do you really think that would be any productive, that would solve any problem?
So his death was expected as a result of the movie?
Well, it was not a surprise for me.
Theo van Gogh was murdered by a savage, a man with dual Moroccan and Dutch nationality. Some commentators have called the turmoil which has occurred in Holland since his murder sort of education by death, meaning that you need such an appalling, traumatic incident to finally jolt the politicians into a semblance of action.
The government is now getting tough with 26,000 asylum seekers and speeding up the system to decide who stays and who goes. But this has not assuaged the anger of the people. This right-wing Dutch parliamentarian wants a 5-year halt to all non-Western immigration and the preventative arrest of dangerous radical Islamists. He now lives in the shadow of a fatwa posted on an Islamic website ordering his beheading.
My personal life is, I have to admit, is terrible. But what can I do? I will never moderate my voice, because then I will exactly do what those idiotic people want me to do, and this I will never grant them. We should tell those people that if you cross that line of our values and our rule of law and our constitution, then there is no place for you in Holland. You can leave by the door. If you won't leave voluntarily, we will help you a little bit. And this is the only way. We should do that. If we don't do that, we will lose our country.
Are you prepared to deport people?
Well, of course I'm prepared to deport people. What do you think that will happen?
Wilders' party has just one seat in the Dutch parliament, his own. But an opinion poll shortly after Van Gogh's killing gave it enough votes to become the second largest group in parliament. Holland's predicament can be blamed on an approach to immigration that made a religion out of multiculturalism.
Here in Holland they said, well, let them come in, everybody is welcomed here. And we gave them education, we gave them money, we gave them housing, we gave them a job. And we forgot to let them become a Dutchman. And we thought, well, they see our Dutch television, they see the gay life, and they see our whores, they see our soft drugs, they see the freedom we have here. And